speed. Second, change lanes if possible. Third, proceed with caution. These 3 simple steps can be the difference between life and death. The next time you're on the road, do the right thing. Slow down, move over, and drive like your life and their life depends on it. Sponsored by the Illinois Broadcasters Association. Aired in cooperation with this station. Thanks to the AAA Auto Club for their financial support in the airing of this message.
8 minutes after 7 o'clock is news time on this Friday morning. Top of the morning from the newsroom of Regional Radio and DeWittDailyNews.com. I'm Seth Lawrence with this expanded local newscast brought to you by Baum Chevrolet Buick in Clinton, your Silverado headquarters, and the morning show streams to Facebook and YouTube. It's brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin insurance agents in Clinton. If you've found yourself immersed in the true crime craze of the last several years, an upcoming program at the Warner Library is for you. True crime is sweeping the country in podcasts, TV docuseries, and much more. According to librarian Corey Campbell, the Warner Library in Clinton has a special program that will be presented later this month based on crimes in DeWitt County.
So our most exciting program that's coming up this month is called Deadly DeWitt. And it's like you said, it's a true crime kind of presentation that's focused all on a series of 22 murders that happened in Clinton and surrounding DeWitt County. It's 1855 to 1913. So our very own Kristen is going to be hosting that. She also hosts our library podcast that you can find on our website, and she does a wonderful job.
This program has received so much interest, it was originally scheduled for just Saturday, January 21st, but another date was added for Saturday, January 28th. Campbell indicates the 21st has a waiting list, but you can still be a part of the program on the 28th.
So the first one was scheduled for Saturday, January 21st, and within a day or two of us announcing it, it had filled up completely and had an incredibly long wait list. So we were super blown away by the response to it. And we wanted to go ahead and give people another opportunity to be able to participate. So we've added a second time for people to come and do this. So it'll be on Saturday, January 28th at 11 a.m. So it's the same time as the previous one, just exactly a week later. Exact same program presented both times, just because we wanted to give as many people as possible the opportunity to be a part of it. I believe there are still spots left for that second session, and the first one is still on a wait list. So if you want to go ahead and give the library a call, let us know that you're interested, or come on in. We can either get you registered for that second date or get you on a wait list for the first one, and hopefully you'll be able to participate in it if it's something that appeals to you. We know a lot of people were really hoping for another opportunity.
Get more information by contacting the library at 217-935-5174. Also stop in to visit at 310 North Quincy Street in Clinton. Follow along with all things Warner Library on social media sites like Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest. At the start of the year, hunters took notice of new regulations regarding hunting rifles in Illinois. On the WHOW Morning Show Thursday, Department of Natural Resources Captain John Williamson broke down the new law, calling it a measure for safety, but it also gives hunters more options for firearm use.
What they're trying to do is use only calibers and ammunition that will have about the same effective range as most of your slug guns, but what they don't have to worry about it being super far reaching where it could, basically go a mile and a half, go a long distance where it would become a danger to people hunting other farms, other places, that sort of thing. So it's a safety factor that they're trying to do.
I see.
So basically a lot of states have done this, have gone to these straight wall calibers. 350 Legend is probably one of the popular ones, 450 Bushmaster. But now that you've gone to straight wall in a rifle, pistols, you would never try to do it, but now a 45-70, which was the old Buffalo guns, legal, but it's really not a long range gun. So that's why it's still safe to use. So that's the main thing. If you have questions about this, visit our DNR website. go down there. There's a section there. We can't list out all of them that would be legal. So it's got the parameters where it would be legal because it's always changing. There's a new 360 Remington coming out that's going to be a straight wall cartridge. So we can't keep up with that. So just go there. It'll have a list of calibers that are legal. There's a reference to somebody privately put it together. Let us publish it so that people can see if they want to try to buy a weapon or get a new deer rifle, that sort of thing. But those are the parameters of it. We get a lot of questions about it. So that's why I wanted to bring it up today.
While the new law expands the opportunities for different guns to be used during hunting, it comes with some limitations. According to Captain Williamson, the shell casings have to be a certain length and the guns can only be single shots.
We've had a pistol law for quite a few years so that you could use a single shot pistol or a revolver, that sort of thing, for deer hunting. Basically, we've taken what was legal for the pistol, and now you can use it in a single shot rifle. What that means is that any rifle that you would use would have to meet the criteria, and that it can be single shot or be made to be only shooting single shot. So like an AR-15 pistol, you can make it legal by using a bobsled in the magazine that only allows you to shoot one shot in the magazine, or have no magazine at all. That way it's only shooting one round at a time. There's a special thing that you can put in that's called a bobsled. It only allows one round to be in the firearm at all. I've got one that I hunt with. So you just need to make them sure they're single shot, whether it's a bolt action, whether it's whatever. If it is made where it can only hold one round, then you're going to be legal to use that as a rifle. So where it changes with the rifle, so the pistol categories you could some of the caliber, you can use, ammunition wise, you can use any straight wall cartridge or a bottleneck cartridge that the case is less than 1.3 inches. Like your 308, it's a bottleneck cartridge, but the case length is way too long. That's probably one of the more popular calibers that people would want to deer hunt with, but you cannot hunt with that caliber because the case length is too long. That will directly impact how much velocity that round will have and how far it will go.
Captain Williamson indicates questions are flowing in about this change in the law and directs hunters wanting further details to again visit dnr.illinois.gov. Farmers should put next Wednesday, January 11th on the calendar for an annual Illinois Farm Economics Summit in Peoria. University of Illinois Extension Director for Logan Menard and Sangamon Counties, Terry Miller Casey, says the event is from 8 to noon at the Paradise Casino in Peoria.
Yeah, we've got the Illinois Farm Economics Summit, and this year it's going to be in Peoria, and it's being offered by our folks at the Farm Docs website. If you've not been to Farm Docs, and you're a farmer, I don't know where you've been because it's full of amazing information. And so every year they put on a farm economics summit where they just discuss economic issues facing our producers and farmers. And this year it's January 11th, so it's coming right up. And it's going to be at the Paradise Hotel in Peoria. And it runs from 8 until noon. And it's going to cover a lot of different topics, including grain market outlook for the coming year, South America expectations for agricultural production, enterprise budgets, and the 2003 farm income perspective, farm bill update, farmland prices and interest rate outlook. So if it has to do with economics and farming, they're pretty much going to discuss it. And it's going to be all of the great folks that you're used to hearing from Farm Doc Daily, like Gary Schnicke and Bruce Sherrick and Jonathan Kopus, and all of those guys and gals are going to be part of this program. So it's a really great day to get a lot of information and also meet up with other producers, get some, chance to ask some one-on-one questions of our experts. And the registration includes a meal, so we'll feed you as well. And if you register online now, it's $80. If you send the payment in through the mail, it's $85, and then if you do a walk-in that day, it's $90. So the early bird gets the worm. So if you register online, you can save $10 from walking in.
Miller Casey believes farmers are always living in a crazy time, and this can hopefully provide some insight into the craziness of the ag industry and give producers good information.
Well, yeah, and as they say, may we live in interesting times. But I always say farmers are always living in interesting times, so they're well used to the different effects that markets can have and worldwide weather can have, and now with the interest rate situation, it's always a bit of a tricky situation. So it's good to have some expert advice, some folks who their career is looking at those numbers and trying to make sense of them for the upcoming year.
Again, the Farm Economic Summit is next Wednesday at the Paradise Casino in Peoria. Get more information at extension.illinois.edu. News time is 17 minutes after the hour here on this Friday. We've got plenty more to get to coming your way on the WHOW Morning Show.
At Baum Chevrolet Buick in Clinton and Baum Motor Company in Farmer City, our job is to help you and solve your transportation needs. This is Scott Baum. Both in Clinton or Farmer City, we'll listen and find options for a different vehicle, or we'll give you repair options to keep that car, truck, or SUV safe and trouble-free so you can continue with your busy schedule. If it has to do with transportation, we're here to help. Visit our full-service team today in Clinton or Farmer City. Baum Chevrolet Buick, right from the start.
18 minutes after the hour here on this Friday. Again, I'm Seth Lawrence with you folks today for this expanded local newscast. Again, streaming to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin insurance agent in Clinton. The Illinois House has passed a assault weapons ban early this morning, 6 months after the deadly 4th of July shooting in Highland Park. Legislation prohibiting the sale of assault rifles, rapid-fire devices, and magazines over 12 rounds made some major headway. House Speaker Chris Welch.
These are weapons that belong on a battlefield, not at parades celebrating our country's independence, or at parks, or at schools, or at our churches.
Representative Charles Meyer of Okawville argued against the ban, which also limits magazines to 12 rounds.
People in Southern Illinois don't trust this. They believe next year you will change this bill again. You won't leave it the way it is. You will take more of our rights away, rights guaranteed to us by our U.S. Constitution.
Opponents argue the bill is unconstitutional and does not address the mental health component of many mass shootings. Governor J.B. Pritzker applauded the House passage of the measure. It still needs to be voted on in the Senate. The assault weapons ban is still working its way through the lame duck session at the State House, but Governor Pritzker fully backs the effort and wants to make the state safer.
You know, the NRA shouldn't control the legislature and what the legislature does, especially in response to mass shootings that have taken place across the country and here in Illinois. And so I think there's a strong majority of people across the state that believe that we don't need weapons of war on the streets of Illinois and that we can save lives if we pass an assault weapons ban.
The legislation as it stands would ban the sale and purchase of assault-style weapons and high-capacity magazines. There's a renewed push to explore offshore wind energy in Illinois. Senator Robert Peters of Chicago is sponsoring legislation with the goal of setting up wind ports in Lake Michigan. The proposed pilot project is called Rust Belt to Green Belt and would be a huge boost to the city, says Peters.
Not only would offshore wind help right the wrongs of environmental racism, but a pilot project alone would create thousands of jobs during the building phase and 50 to 100 long-term jobs over the long term. That's from only a handful of turbines.
His bill sets the stage to build wind ports in Lake Michigan off the coast of the city's southeast side.
It allows the Illinois Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity to seek federal funds. I repeat, seek federal funds to build an offshore wind port and directs the Illinois Power Agency to procure power from an offshore wind project. Legislative action must happen for these initial steps to take place.
The bill directs the state to seek federal funding to build offshore wind ports near the southeast side of Chicago. Peters says it needs to be passed quickly so Illinois does not miss out on the opportunity. Over 500 pages for ag groups to digest following the EPA and Army Corps of Engineers announcing a final rule establishing the definition of the waters of the U.S. Reaction from the Illinois Farm Bureau Director of Environmental Policy, Laura Lurkins.
You know, I think it's important to point out that it's 514 pages that will be published, but there is also a list on the EPA website of fact sheets and memos and all these other things that go alongside that regulatory language. it's very important to note that these other things actually don't have the weight of law. What has the weight of law is the regulatory text in that 514 pages, but there's a lot to power through. But to your question of categories of what's in, it's categories of jurisdictional water, and then it's a list of exemptions. And there are some things that are not surprising. The traditional navigable waters, tributaries are in. That is something that, it's not really clearly defined in the regulatory text, but there is some language in that big package that talks about rivers, streams, lakes, ponds, regardless of whether they flow directly or indirectly to another water, they're going to be in there. And so these can be natural, they can be modified, they can be structured, they can include ditches. And that's a huge element for us. I think the other thing that I'm kind of concerned about is sort of like an other waters category that is included. And these are things that are intra-state. So they exist within one single state, a lake, a pond, a stream, a wetland. That's a pretty big catch-all. And it no doubt would take this regulatory regime sort of even beyond, what we've seen in the recent past.
The EPA and Corps announced the final rule December the 30th. The Illinois Supreme Court will not begin to decide the possible end of cash bail in the state for months. On Thursday, the court announced the appeal to the pretrial detention portion of the Safety Act, which will not be heard until March. Governor J.B. Pritzker says he'll wait for the court to do its work.
In my view, someone who's wealthier shouldn't just be able to buy their way out of jail when they've committed a violent crime, when someone who's poor can't, hasn't committed a violent crime and will sit in jail. So the whole purpose here is fairness. And I think that we will continue to fight for that. I mean, I think those of us who believe in this know that there's even more work to do. But I am comfortable and confident that this is constitutional.
The Supreme Court stepped in at the end of the year after a judge in Kankakee County ruled against the end of cash bail. How is the financial health of the farm sector as we start the new year? Gary Crawford talks with a sector takes the sector to a doctor for a complete checkup. Brought to you by Baum Chevrolet Buick in Clinton, your Silverado headquarters.
With SRN News, I'm Rich Thomason. Congress closer today to securing the speaker of a deal between the California Republican and at least some of those who have blocked him from getting the speaker's job. Meanwhile, some House lawmakers say national security is being threatened by the ongoing speakership standoff. We're learning about the evidence investigators say they have against the suspect in the murders of 4 University of Idaho students. They say it's footage of a vehicle. If the experts are correct, in court. On Wall Street, Dow.
With SR, Hamlin collapsed and went into cardiac arrest on the field. The potential competitive inequities in certain playoff scenarios. That game had major playoff implications. Buffalo entered Monday night needing a win to hold that spot. The Bengals had a chance to earn that top seed with 2 more wins and a loss by the Chiefs. So we shall see as the playoff scenarios resolve themselves this coming weekend. Meanwhile, Damar Hamlin's doctors say the safety has begun to communicate in writing with his family and others who have been at his bedside since he went into cardiac arrest. And his first question was, did we win? Doctors at the University of Cincinnati Medical Center say it appears his neurological function is fine. This is SRN Sports. Moving on to NBA action yesterday, just 4 games. It was the Grizzlies over the Magic 123-115, Celtics 124, Dallas 95. Utah beat Houston 131-114. It was the Nuggets 122 and the Clippers 91. In the National Hockey League yesterday, Bruins 5, Kings 2. It was the Canucks over Colorado 4-2. The Knights beat Pittsburgh 5-2. Oilers 4, Islanders 2, Nashville over Carolina 5-3. The Rangers down the Canadiens 4-1, while the Capitals went over Columbus 6-2. Seattle 5, Toronto 1. The Flyers beat Arizona 6-2. It was the Blues 5 and the Devils 3. AP Top 25 college basketball last night. Number 1, Purdue over number 24, Ohio State 71-69. Number 2, Houston beat SMU 87-53. Was number 5, Arizona downing Washington 70-67. This is SRN Sports.
Time now for a look at sports. I'm Seth Lawrence with this report. Chase DJ scored 21 points and added 4 steals as Northwestern won for the 6th time in 7 games, beating Illinois 73-60 Wednesday night. The 11-3 Wildcats moved to 2-1 in the Big Ten, adding to what has been its best start in 7 seasons. The Wildcats got 15 points from Bowie and 13 from Ty Berry. Bowie was 2 for 13 from the field, but went 11 of 12 at the free throw line. The Wildcats shot 32% for the game and made 7 of 18 from 3. 3 of those makes were consecutive three-pointers by a DJ, Brooks Barnheiser, and Berry that gave them a 47-43 lead with 11 minutes remaining in the second half. While Illinois was mired in a 1-for-9 shooting slump, the Wildcats' run reached 22-2 for a 60-45 lead with 5:53 remaining. The Wildcats would not make another field goal, but went 13 for 16 from the foul line to close out the win. Northwestern made 32 of 40 free throws for the game. Matthew Mayer scored 17 points and went over 1,000 career points for Illinois. Jaden Epps had 11 off the bench. Coleman Hawkins scored 10. Terrence Shannon Jr., third in the Big Ten at 17.8 points per game, had just 9 points and 7 assists. The 9-5 Illini are 0-3 in the Big Ten and have lost 4 of their last 5 games against Power 5 teams. Their only win, an 85-78 win over then second-ranked Texas. On December 6th, Illinois had won the past 8 games in the series with Northwestern, 2 free throws and a pull-up jumper from a DJ, followed by Robbie Barron's three-pointer put Northwestern up 23-17 with 6:50 remaining In the first half, Illinois bounced right back with an 8-2 run to tie it. Then Northwestern edged ahead to lead 31-27 at halftime. The Wildcats wore their Chicago's own by the players' uniforms from Under Armour for the second time. Julian Larry had 18 points in Indiana State's, 76-67 victory over Illinois State on Wednesday night. Larry had 5 assists for the 12-4 Sycamores, who remain unbeaten in the Valley. Cameron Henry had 18 points, finishing 9 of 11 from the floor. He added 3 steals. Robbie Avila added 14 points and 6 boards. Darius Burford led the way for the 6-10 Redbirds with 22 points and 2 steals. Liam McChesney had 9 points for ISU. Malachi Poindexter also had 9 and 2 steals. The Redbirds travel to Evansville on Saturday. Demiri Burns scored 16 points as Murray State beat Bradley 67-58 on Wednesday night. Burns added 10 rebounds and 3 steals for the 9-6 Racers, who are 4-1 in the Valley. Jacoby Wood scored 10 points, going 2 of 9 from the floor, including 0 for 4 from distance, but he added 6 boards. Rob Perry finished with 10 points and went 3 for 3 from the foul line. The 10-6 Braves dropped to 3-2 in the Valley and were led by Zeke Montgomery, who had 11 points. Jay Sean Henry added 10 points and 7 rebounds for Bradley. Malevi Leons put up 9 points and 8 boards with 2 steals. Murray State took the lead with 5:22 to go in the first half and never looked back. The score was 34-27 at the intermission, with Burns racking up 8 points. Murray State turned a 1-point second half lead into a 13-point advantage with a 13-1 run to make it 59-46. With 5:02 left in the half, Burns scored 8 second half points in the game. Bradley will host Valparaiso on Saturday. DeMar DeRozan and Patrick Williams each scored 22 points as the Chicago Bulls stopped the Brooklyn Nets' 12-game win streak with a 121-112 victory over Kevin Durant and the Nets on Wednesday night. Durant had 44, but Chicago had 6 players score in double figures. Nikola Vucevic had 21 points and 13 rebounds. Ayo Dosunmu finished with 17 as the Bulls ended a 2-game skid. Durant rested at the beginning of the fourth, and Chicago put up an 8-0 run. Dosunmu stole a pass at midcourt and went in for the jam with a 106-95 lead with 6:46 left. Williams and DeRozan each hit 2 foul shots in the final minute to help close it out. Durant scored a season-high 28 points in the first half, but Brooklyn trailed 69-59 at the break. He went 15 for 22 from the field for the game, finishing a point shy of his season high against Orlando on November 28th. The Bulls, playing without reserves, Javonte Green lost another key guard when Alex Caruso sprained his right ankle with 3:11 left in the first quarter. He missed 3 games because of a concussion and a shoulder sprain. Zach LaVine had 13 for Chicago. Kobe White finished with 10. Kyrie Irving had 25 points for Brooklyn, and Seth Curry had 22. Irving went 1 for 8 from distance. Nets forward Yuta Watanabe, who entered the game leading the league with a 52% three-point percentage, played just 6 minutes because of foul trouble and scored 1 point. The Bulls will visit the Sixers on Friday. Justin Fields will not get a chance to break the single-season rushing record for an NFL quarterback. He will miss the finale against the Vikings because of a strained hip, and Nathan Peterman starts in his place, according to Coach Matt Eberflus. Fields finishes his second season with 1,143 rushing yards, just 63 sets shy of the record set by Baltimore's Lamar Jackson in his 2019 MVP season. He was one of the few bright spots in a tough first season for Chicago under Eberflus and GM Ryan Poles. The 3-13 Bears set a franchise record last week at Detroit by dropping their 9th straight game and matched one with their 13th loss. Fields hurt his hip in the blowout loss to the Lions. Eberflus says Fields' hip was bothering him Monday, and an MRI confirmed the strain. The team's medical staff ruled him out for the game against the NFC North champion Vikings on Sunday. The Bears still have a shot at the number 1 pick in the draft. The only team with the worst record is Houston. Eberflus insists holding out Fields was a medical decision and not an attempt to boost the Bears' standing in the draft. With Fields breaking off one dazzling run after another, the Bears lead the league in rushing, but they are last in passing. Fields is the only NFL quarterback with 3 touchdown runs of 50 yards or more in a single season. The former Ohio State star ranked 6th overall in rushing and is averaging a league-leading 7.1 yards per carry, but it remains to be seen if Fields can develop into the passer the Bears need him to become. Chicago has made the playoffs just 3 times since the 2006 team had advanced to the Super Bowl and finished with a winning record once in the last decade. Fields put up a huge passing numbers and was the offensive player of the year in the Big Ten in each of his 2 seasons at Ohio State. With a shaky offensive line and a lack of playmaking receivers, Fields completed about 60% of his passes for 2,242 yards, throwing 17 touchdowns and 11 interceptions, but was sacked a league-high 55 times. Peterman makes his 5th NFL start and first since 2018 with Buffalo. He briefly looked as if he was going to get the call when the Bears visited the Jets in Week 12, with Fields sidelined because of a separated non-throwing shoulder. Backup Trevor Siemian injured his oblique in warmups. The Bears announced Peterman, promoted the previous day from the practice squad, would start, only to reverse course. Siemian played through the injury, then had season-ending surgery. The Bears also signed wide receiver Equanimous St. Brown to a 1-year contract extension, and matriarch Virginia McCaskey turns 100 today. Offensive lineman Michael Schofield and Taven Jenkins were placed on injured reserve, as was defensive back Josh Blackwell. Get sports anytime at DeWittDailyNews.com.
This is staff meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki with your regional radio forecast. Highs around 36. Today, under partly cloudy skies, west winds 5 to 10 miles per hour. Lows around 26. Tonight, partly cloudy skies. A mix of clouds and sun again. Tomorrow, mixed precipitation possible at times. High temperatures reach up to 37. A dusting of snow tomorrow night. Hear weather twice an hour or online anytime at DeWittDailyNews.com. Currently, it's 30.
Hello again, everyone. This is Stu Ellis, swinging open the farm gate for you once again today. Well, if the U.S. House of Representatives can get a speaker selected, one of the first things that the Agriculture Committee is going to do is schedule a number of hearings around the country, in all likelihood, regarding the Farm Bill. The incoming chair, Representative Glenn Thompson of Pennsylvania, is planning on holding a hearing already this coming weekend at a large Pennsylvania agriculture event, and others will probably do the same in the coming weeks. Secretary of Agriculture Vilsack says it's really premature to ask if billions in Inflation Reduction Act conservation funds can be transferred to the upcoming Farm Bill, even as the need will likely exist. The decision will be up to Congress, but Vilsack and the administration will have a say in whether to use some of the Inflation Reduction Act's $16 billion for programs like EQIP and CSP for the new Farm Bill. But asked about that during a December media call, Vilsack said it's really too early to decide. And he said at this point in time, we don't know what the specific baseline is going to be for the Congressional Budget Office. We don't know what demands there are that very well may be existing on Farm Bill programs, and any modifications or changes. We don't know what savings could be potentially occurring from programs that are currently in the Farm Bill baseline that could be because of lack of demand or because of changes or whatever might create a set of savings. But Vilsack says he heard directly from farm groups, so there was a genuine expression for maintaining and keeping the conservation resources as they have been appropriated under the Inflation Reduction Act. But the question remains if some of those resources can be repurposed to meet rising Farm Bill costs from input inflation, low existing support funds, disasters, war, and supply chain problems. He said doing so may require spending offsets somewhere else, but no one doubts the next farm bill can be a heavy lift for no other reason than the cost of farming has risen dramatically from the 2018 Farm Bill. Speaking of that Inflation Reduction Act, President Biden signed the omnibus spending package into law that diverts a government shutdown and keeps it running until this next September. The bill, with more than 4,000 pages, contains notable items important to farmers and ranchers. And the bill includes some 3.7 billion in disaster funding for crop and livestock losses due to drought and other problems this past year. Livestock mandatory reporting is extended until this next September. And it also includes price transparency, as the USDA and Justice Department are to analyze issues regarding transparent meat pricing and price discovery for cattle producers.